Hi everyone, CG Seb here. Today I'm going to show you how to make a very realistic medal with Fluent Materializer. So let's go. So I have this model here that will help us to demonstrate this metal surface. So this is the result that we will achieve with this video. So first of all, let's start over and let me show you all the steps you need to reproduce this. So let me remove all the nodes and start from a new material. So first of all, I'm going to start with 3 layers. So if you don't know Fluent Materializer, I have more beginner-friendly tutorials, but this one will not be really advanced. So I think it's for every level of Fluent Materializer users. So you want to start with the question, is it metallic or is it something else like plastic or a wall? Because this is very important. This will affect the roughness. This will affect also the color. For this model, this is drawn and I want it to make it metallic. So I put it to 1 and then you can just pick a color. Let's say I want it green. Nice. So this is a little bit too shiny for me. I would like to have like this roughness of this black part underneath. So to do that, I will go to the grunges category and I will use the grunge number 5 for this one. So yeah, we plug the roughness into the roughness and now it's a little bit too crazy, and the reason for that is because the minimum roughness is 0 and the maximum is 1. So you want to reduce the gap between those two. So depending on the result that you want, you might need to tweak it a little bit. Making a gap by 0.1 is usually working very well with my models. So yeah, also a very important thing to know before you start making a material is to have lights that are coming from different angles. Here I'm using an HDRI, and as you can see, the light is coming from the left and also from this point. So from the camera point of view, we have a very bright side, we have like more dark side, and here we are like on the surface, like the light is reflecting it. That's important to see how your material will react with the different surfaces. We can also plug the normal actually here to add a little bit of grain into the texture. I don't know if you can see it properly. Maybe I can zoom in here. And this will affect the realism of your material, because whenever you paint a surface, obviously you have a little bit of different of thickness inside the face. So not too crazy, just to add a little bit of details. And we will add a little bit more details with the normal here and paint details. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use the paint tool. It's a little bit more tweakable, if it's a word. And you just plug the normal into the grunge. So we have those dots around here. You can change, of course, the strength of it. Again, it depends on the surface you are making. If you're making like a very old model, like tractors, or very something that is destroyed in forest, and a very old painting, and this is more futuristic, so it's usually yeah, usually flat paint. First, we have this layer, and we have the second layer here that will be the destroyed parts. So if you select the mix layer and actually press F and choose all edges here, this will put a mask on all the edges of your mesh. This is not realistic, and we will need to tweak it a little bit. So always ask yourself, is the material behind the paint metallic or not? If it is, you put the metallic to 1. I might change the roughness here and put it to 0.6 or 0.5. I think it's nice to make it a little bit shiny. And now let's make it a little bit more random. So the first step you might need to take is to add a grunge and plug the result into the texture. And this is a first step that is pretty nice to add details to an edge mask. And the good thing with the grunge number 3 is that you can play with the coverage. So if you put it to 1, it's totally affected, and if you put it to 0, it's not affected. So you can just play with the settings, and also the seed if you want something that is more used in the corner. For example, if you want to make a render that is close to this, and so yeah. So that's the first step that we're gonna take, and then we're gonna add more details. So let's move this a little bit, and press F and add a lighten mode. Lighten mode will allow you to add together two effects that are black and white effects. So this is a black and white map, and we will combine it with another one. So I'm going to combine with a dent. So the dent is in the imperfection, and here you have a mask that you can reuse, and boom, you have dents plus the edges. So I'm gonna go back there and see how it affects the model. So that's pretty cool. We can see there very small dents. And the thing with details, it's always good to duplicate the node, and again, we can use a lighten node. So let me move this a bit. And we can Shift D, lighten, and add another one. Of course, you need to change the scale. So let's say 0.5. And then you can see more there. For example, let's shift click and change the seed to have a bit more big impacts. Let's say not like this. And mixing big details with small details, it's always a good thing for realism in your model. Great. So we have a pretty cool thing. Now, I'm not really happy with the edges of this mask. You see, it's a little bit too methy, and to fix that, you can actually change the details. So let's say I put 8. Now you see that the details are a little bit more consistent, and you don't have like very small pieces here and there. Okay, so that's pretty cool. But when you add paint on the surface and you scratch it, it has a little bit of thickness. And to reproduce this effect, we're gonna use the mask that we have here. This is pretty cool because you can actually, with Blender, add a bump node and plug this mask into the height map. And this will create this kind of grunge. And we can reuse it there into the second layer. So that's a cool trick I'd like to use to add a little bit more realism. Now this is not working as we want. To make it work, we can use math node. So math node. First of all, we're gonna multiply this by, I don't know, probably 2 to make it a little bit more white in the white part, to amplify the white part. And then we're going to shift this and we're going to put it to greater than. Greater than is actually gonna take only the values that are greater than what you put here. So it's gonna filtrate other values, and that's gonna clean the thing. So it's pretty cool. And we can see now, if we are a little bit far, we can see the border of this. For example, we can see that it had a surface that has been scratched. You can see we can, I don't know, I'm going to zoom in if you can see a little bit more properly, but this looks really like we have a metal and a paint on top of it. Now the metal here, it's a little bit too flat. So to fix that, you can just plug here the crunch number 3 into the bump node. And if it looks a little bit weird like this, and you don't want to destroy the settings you put for that, you can just unplug it and use another grunge. I'm going to use this technique. So probably grunge number 5 and use the normal into the normal. So this adds a little bit of realism, because when you scratch paint, you usually also damage the metal behind it. I'm going to probably change this 0.2, probably a little bit too far. And yeah, so always play with the scales. It will depend on your the size of your object, of course. But as you can see, we quickly added a lot of details with just 2 layers. So the last layer will be for the dust. Dust is pretty nice. If you have destroy objects, you usually have dirt and dust on it. So this is usually on the last layer that I'm adding this. So the dust is actually in the imperfection. So plug the mask of the dust into the mask of the last mixed layer that we added. And this, if we check, adds the dust on top of the object. Very important thing, if the dust is, for example, on the side or somewhere and not on the top, it's because your object is rotated. So always Control A and apply the rotation. This is very important. So the dust is coming from the top. So great, dust is nice, but it's a little bit too uniform. So again, we're gonna use our friends, the grunges. And if we plug the result into the amount, now we have something a little bit more random. To amplify this, because grunges are a value from 0 to 1, we're gonna use a math node to multiply by the number that we want to make a little bit more dust. So that's cool. Looks a little bit too crazy. Probably might need to change the scale and the details like we did to make it a little bit more fuzzy, and increase or decrease the coverage. Great. So we have a white dust. It depends on your scene, but if it's the sand, for example, you can put it a little bit yellowish and you have like kind of a sand result. So yeah, that was it for making a realistic metal with Fluent Materializer. I hope you like it, and see you on the next one.